Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Wicked. Okay, Bach, Chapter 2. Averick had left for the summer once the exams were done, and Bach either had flimlanded his way through or disgraced himself, in which case there was little to lose now. The first rendezvous with Galinda might be the last. Bach bothered with his clothes more than usual and got an opinion on how to fix his hair from the new look in the cafes. A thin white ribbon around the crown of his head, pulling his hair straight from the nub so that it would burst into curls like froth exploding from an overturned basin of milk. He cleaned his boots several times. It was too warm for boots, but he had no evening slippers. Make do, make do. On the appointed evening, he retraced his way and on the stable roof found that a fruit picker's ladder had been left leaning against the wall, so he need not descend through the leaves like a vertiginous chimpanzee. He picked his way down the first few rungs and then jumped manually the rest of the way, avoiding lettuces this time. On a bench underneath the worm-nut trees sat Elphaba, her knees drawn casually up to her chest, and her bare feet flat on the seat of the bench. And Galinda, whose ankles were crossed daintily, and who hid behind a satin fan and was looking in the other direction anyway. Well, my stars and garters, a visitor, said Elphaba. Such a surprise. Evening, ladies, he said. Your head looks like a hedgehog in shock. What did you do to yourself? Asked Elphaba. At least Galinda turned to see. Then she disappeared behind the fan again. Could she be so nervous? Could her heart be so faint? Well, I am part hedgehog, didn't I tell you? Said Bach, on my grandfather's side. He ended up as cutlets for Ozma's retinue one hunting season and a tasty memory for all. The recipe is handed down in the family, pasted in the picture album. Serve cheese and walnut sauce. Are you really? Said Elphaba. She put her chin on her knees. Really, hedgehog? No, it was a fancy. Good evening, Miss Galinda. It was good of you to agree to meet me again. That is highly improper, said Galinda. For a number of reasons, as you well know, Master Bach, but my roomie would give me no rest until I say yes. I can't say that I am pleased to see you again. Oh, say it. Maybe it'll make it true, said Elphaba. Try it out. He's not so bad for a poor boy. I am pleased that you are so taken with me, Master Bach, said Miss Galinda, working at a courtesy. I am flattered. She clearly was not flattered. She was humiliated. But you must see there can be no special friendship between us. Apart from the matter of my feelings, there are too many special social impediments for us to proceed. I only agreed to come so I could tell you that in person. It seemed only fair. It seemed only fair, and it might be fun too, said Elphaba. That's why I'm hanging around. That's the issue of different cultures to start, said Galinda. I know you are a Munchkinlander. I am a Gillikinese. I will need to marry one of my own. It is the only way. I'm sorry. She lowered her fan and lifted her head, palmed out to stop his protest. And furthermore, you are a farmer from the agricultural school, and I require a statesman or a banker from Ozma Towers. That's just how things are. Besides, said Galinda, you're too short. What about his subversion of custom by coming here this way? What about his silliness? Said Elphaba. Enough, said Galinda. That'll do, Miss Elphaba. Please, you're too certain of yourself, said Bach, if I may be so bold. You're not so bold at all, said Elphaba. You're about as bold as tea made from leaves. You're embarrassing me with hanging back, so come on, say something interesting. I'm starting to wish I'd gone to chapel. You're interrupting, said Bach. Miss Elphaba, you've done a wonderful thing to encourage Miss Galinda to meet me, but I must ask you to leave us alone to sort things out. Neither of you will understand what the other is saying, said Elphaba calmly. I am a Munchkinlander by birth anyway, if not by upbringing, and I'm a girl by accident, if not by choice. I'm the natural arbiter between you two. I don't believe you can get along without me. In fact, if I leave the garden, you'll cease to decipher each other's language entirely. She speaks the tongue of rich, you speak clotted poor. Besides, I pay for the show by wheedling Miss Galinda for 3 days running. I get to watch. It would be good for you to stay, Miss Elphaba, said Galinda. I required a chaperone with a boy. See what I mean? Said Elphaba to Bach. Then if you must stay, at least let me talk. Bach said, please let me speak for just a few minutes, Miss Galinda. What you say is true. You are a highborn and I am common. You are Gillikinese and I a Munchkinlander. You have a social pattern to conform to, and so do I. And mine doesn't include marrying a girl too wealthy, too foreign, too expectant. Marriage isn't what I came here to propose. See, I'm glad I didn't leave. This is just getting good, said Elphaba, but clamped her lips shut when they both glared at her. I came here to propose that when we meet from time to time, that's all, said Bach, that we meet as friends. That, free of expectations, we come to know each other as dear friends. I do not deny that you overwhelm me with your beauty. You are the moon in the season of shadowlight. You are the fruit of the candlewood tree. You are the phoenix in circles of flight. This sounds rehearsed, said Elphaba. You are the mythical sea, he concluded, all his eggs in one basket. I'm not much for poetry, said Galinda, but you're very kind. She seemed to perk up a little at the compliments. Anyway, the fan was moving faster. I don't really understand the point of friendship, as you call it, Master Bach, between unmarried people of our age. It seems distracting. I can see that it might lead to complications, especially as you or confess to an infatuation I cannot hope to return. Not in a million years. It's the age of daring, said Bach. It's the only time we have. We must live in the present. We are young and alive. I don't know if alive quite covers it, said Elphaba. This sounds scripted to me. Galinda rapped Elphaba on the head with her fan, which folded smartly up and opened as neatly again. An elegant practice gesture that impressed all of them. You're being tiresome, Miss Elfie. I appreciate your company, but I didn't request a running commentary. I'm perfectly capable of deciding the merits of Master Bach or side myself. Let me consider his stupid idea. Lorene above, I can hardly hear myself think. Losing her temper, Galinda was prettier than ever, so the old saw was true. Bach was learning so much about girls. Her fan was dropping. Was that a good sign? If she hadn't had some affection for him, would she have worn a dress with a neckline that dipped just a tad lower that he dared hope? There was the essence of rosewater around her. He felt a surge of possibility, an inclination to rub his lips on the place where her shoulder became her neck. Your marriage, she was saying. Well, you're brave, I suppose, and clever to have figured this out. If Madame Morrible ever found out you'd heard we'd be in severe trouble. Of course, you might not know that, so scratch the bravery part. Just clever. You're clever, and you're sort of, to look up. Handsome, suggested Elphaba, dashing. You're fun to look at, decided Galinda. Bach's face fell. Fun? He said, I'd give a lot to achieve fun, Elphaba said. The best I usually hope for is stirring. And when people say that, they're usually referring to digestion. Well, I might be all or none of those things you say, said Bach, but I will be learned that I am persistent. I will not let you say no to our friendship. Galinda means too much to me. Behold, the male beast roaring in the jungle for his mate, said Elphaba. See how the female beast giggles behind a shrub, while the organizers to her face say, Pardon, dear, did you say something? Elphaba! They both cried at her. My word, ducky, said a voice behind him, and all three turned. It was some middle-aged minder in a striped apron, her thinning gray hair twisted in a knot in her head. What are you getting yourself up to? I'm a clutch, Galinda said. How did you think to look for me here? The zebra cook told me some yakety yak was going on here. You think they're blind here? Now who is this? This don't look good at all, not to me. Bok stood. I am Master Bok of Rush Margins, Munchkinland. I am nearly a third-year fellow at Briscoe Hall. Elphaba yawned. Is the show over? Well, I am shocked. I guess don't get shown into the vegetable garden, so I guess you've arrived uninvited. Sir, get yourself gone from here before I call the porters to remove you. Oh, I'm a clutch. Don't make a scene, said Galinda, sighing. He's hardly developed enough to worry about, pointed out Elphaba. Look, he's still beardless, and from what we can deduce, Bok said in a rush. Perhaps this is all wrong. I did not come here to be abused. Forgive me, Miss Galinda, if I have failed even to amuse you. As for you, Miss Elphaba, his voice was as cold as he could make it, and was even colder than he heard of himself. I was wrong to have trusted in your compassion. Wait and see, said Elphaba. Wrong takes an awful long time to be proven, in my experience. Meanwhile, why don't you come back sometime? There's no second time to this, said Clutch, tugging at Galinda, who was proving as sedentary as set cement. Miss Elphaba, shame on you for encouraging the scandal. Nothing here has been perpetrated but badinage at that, said Elphaba. Miss Galinda, you're mighty stubborn here. You're planting yourself in the vegetable garden for good in the hopes that this boy visitation might occur again. Have we misread your interest? Galinda stood at last with some dignity. My dear Bok, she said, as if dictating, it was ever my intention to dissuade you from pursuing me in romantic attachment, or even in friendship, as you put it. I had not meant to bruise you, that it is not my nature. At this, Elphaba rolled her eyes, but for once kept her mouth shut, perhaps because Amma Clutch had dug her fingernails into Elphaba's elbow. I will not deny to arrange another meeting like this, as Amma Clutch reminds me. It is beneath me. Amma Clutch hadn't exactly said that, but even so, she nodded grimly. But if our paths were to cross in a legitimate way, Master Bok, I would do the courtesy of at least not ignoring you. I trust you will be satisfied with that. Never, said Bok with a smile, but it's a stop. And now good evening, said Amma Clutch on behalf of them all, and steered the girl away. Fresh dreams, Master Bok, and don't come back. Miss Elfie, you are horrible, he heard Galinda say while Elphaba twisted around and waved goodbye with a grin he could not clearly read. And that's the end of that chapter. So, zebra in this book is spelled T-Z-E-B-R-A. Has anybody heard that spelling before? I haven't. Very interesting. Anyway, thanks for listening.